Hey everybody, what is going on today? Welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to show you guys the best place to throw all types of fastballs here in MLB The Show 22, where you need to locate them, where they'll be the most effective pitches for you in online and offline play. But first, you guys, do me a favor, as always, and make sure to smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel, man. Subscribe. We're on the road to 10,000 subs here, so you guys make sure to hit that subscribe button for me. I really appreciate the support all throughout the years here. Make sure also you got those notifications on so you always know when we're live here on the channel most days right here at 10 a.m. Central on YouTube. Also, so you know when videos post here to the channel. Let's go ahead and hop into some custom practice so we can talk about these types of fastballs here. All right, you guys, so we got Jacob deGrom on the mound here. We're going to cover our first two types of fastballs here, and the different types we're going to cover are four-seam fastballs, two-seam fastballs, the sinker, the cutter, and also the splitter, because it is the split finger fastball. So we're going to cover that one here. Tomorrow's video will actually have the different types of off-speed pitches and where to locate those and throw them. But we've got the first two pitches here with Jacob deGrom, so we're going to go ahead and go to those. All right, with your four-seam fastball, it's one of those pitches that you can actually locate that one just about anywhere in the zone that you want, except for obviously right down the middle. You don't want to throw this sucker right down the middle. That's where you're going to get rocked. You want to be careful in certain counts throwing it up high and not doing it too often to people, because people will sit up here and wait for pitches to be thrown high and inside. So be careful with that. You can throw that occasional high and away pitch to a batter if they're a right-handed batter here, and if they're a left-handed batter, you can throw it over here. But the four-seam fastball, keep it down, keep it low. That's where you want to keep it most of the time, and then going for that strikeout every once in a while. Go up top. Don't go for it all the time, but go for it every once in a while. You can also bust them right here on the inside. Pretty much you want to keep this on the corners, on the right side of the zone, up and down here. I'm trying to move a straight line, but I can't move it. That's why I don't use pinpoint, guys. And then I'm trying to move a straight line here, but up and down there on the left side as well. So you want to keep it anywhere up in there, right along the actual strike zone. Now with the two-seam fastball, and let's go ahead and throw one here. I wasn't even trying to throw it where it was going. Who knows where that thing's going? All right, so we're trying to talk about a two-seam fastball now, and that's going to be his fifth pitch. A two-seam fastball is probably the least effective type of fastball thrown in MLB The Show. It doesn't actually work like it's supposed to, like a sinker. And that's unfortunate, because I wish it did work like a sinker. If it did, it would be a much better pitch. But really, if you're throwing a two-seamer, you don't want to get it up in the air. Do not throw those up here. You don't want to throw them in the top of the zone. It's a pitch with downward movement, which means it has to have an up and then a downward arc. So you don't want to throw anything up like that that's going to come down, because it will go back up again when the batter hits it. So keep them down and in here, or down and away. You really want to keep them right there, and then you want to pound these inside and outside parts of the plate right here with two-seamers. That's where you want to keep them. Keep everything away from the middle of the plate. You don't want to throw it in the middle of the plate. You want to stay around these corners, but really for a two-seamer, keep it on those outside and inside parts of the plate. All right, let's move on to our next pitch here. All right, so the next pitch we're going to talk about here is actually the sinker. All right, the sinker, which is the better two-seamer. All right, the sinker is one of the meta pitches. The next one we're going to talk about, the cutter, is the other meta pitch, but the sinker is one of the meta pitches here in the game. What you really want to do with sinkers, and I know a lot of people like to throw them high. They've gotten into that habit of playing the game over the years and throwing those sinkers high. But it's got to have a downward break like this, and typically an inward break to the hand of the throwing hand of the pitcher. So he's right-handed. It's going to go to the right inside part of the plate right here for a sinker. You don't want to get them up here. You can throw them a little bit up here this year, but you don't want to get them up here. When you start throwing it up here, it gets harder to get that pulse in. If you guys notice, look, the pulse actually gets a little larger and harder to get as you get away from the zone. When you guys notice when you're throwing, you'll notice that too, but the PCI will actually get larger for your opponent when you're actually throwing those sinkers up high in the zone as well. So don't throw them up there this year. Off-speed pitches are the same way. You don't want to throw them up high in the zone because of that same exact factor you're going to be dealing with. But you really want to throw them inside here to righties. You want to throw them inside to lefties as well. And you really want to keep them just right here on this inside part of the plate. I mean, this is the main key for these fastball pitches, is keeping them here on this inside part of the plate. Now, that's the same for the four-seamer, the two-seamer, and the sinker. And the sinker you can use a little bit around here. You can throw it down in here in this zone and get a little bit just low in the zone and probably not get hit around too bad. in the game every once in a while, if you get it over the middle of the plate, no matter where it's at, it's just going to go. But mostly for a sinker, you just want to keep it down. You want to keep it down on the ground because that's going to induce ground balls with a sinker, and it's going to cause you to get double plays, which is nice. You can dial them up with that. So, all right, the next one we're going to move on to here is the cutter, though. The cutter, and Corbin Burns throws sinkers and cutters great. So the cutter is a perfect one. Now, this is the first one that we're going to start to bring a little bit in a different zone than we've gone before with these other fastballs. With the cutter, you want to throw this a little bit. If it's a left-handed hitter and he's on this side of the plate right here, you want to actually throw it a little bit off the plate and into him because you want to jam them. You want to bust their hands. All right, now with Pulse, I know that he's going to throw that a little bit more over the plate when I aim over there. So I'm going to have to aim a little bit even more to get it going over there. But you guys know where to aim when you're throwing it with whatever interface you're using. That's okay. So the cutter, that's where you want to keep it. You want to keep it off the plate, just barely. You're trying to get somebody to swing at that pitch on that inside pitch. Now, there's other places to throw the cutter, though. It has multiple zones. So the other good place on a right-handed hitter, you can do the same thing if you've got a right-handed pitcher. You can throw it on these inside zones, and you can keep it a little bit off the plate. Sometimes you'll get them around to swing. They won't always, but a lot of times they'll think it's going to be a ball coming in, and they'll be really late on it and get quite jammed, because it's going to break across the plate to be a strike at the last second. Now, throwing that in that same zone right there, you can do to left-handed hitters also because they think it's going to be a ball, and then you get it right here at the last second, and it sneaks in and you dot it right there on the corners. All right, so they'll be swinging late on it. They'll pop it up foul. They'll pop it up very late and shallow to the left fielder. So that's great. Now, with a right-handed hitter, we're jumping back and forth to lefties and righties, I know, but I want to cover all the zones for you guys. With a right-handed hitter, you want to use the cutter like a slider. You can use it like a slider, and it depends on the velocity of the pitch. If you have a slower cutter that a pitcher actually throws, then you can use it a little bit more like a slider throughout the game. But right here, you just want to throw it across the body, across the entire part of the strike zone, so that the hitter sees it like that, like a slider. But it's going to be a really hard slider coming in at 96, 98 miles an hour. So that's how you can use a cutter to your advantage. All right, keep this one. You can throw it up here every once in a while and bust a hitter in, but keep it off that plate. Don't throw it right here, because if you leave a cutter right here, you got a good chance they're going to get their PCI on it, and they're going to knock it up into the upper deck. So be careful throwing high cutters. Those are ones you just want to kind of stay away from, at least minimally. Okay. All right. Splitter is the last one. Let's move to a different pitcher here so we can talk about the splitter. All right. So I brought up Yu Darvish here. It's his number 5 pitch, and the splitter is going to be a number 5 pitch for a lot of guys. It'll be the 4 or 5 pitch. There'll be a few guys that you'll find it as a 3, and even a couple of guys you'll find it as a 1, like a Mike Scott. If he's in the game this year, you would find it as a first pitch, primary pitch. I don't know if he's in the game this year or not, or if he will be, but the splitter is going to be thrown very much like off-speed pitches, all right? But it is the split finger fastball. That's what it's known as. So it is thrown a little bit harder sometimes. You see Darvish is throwing at 90, 91 miles an hour. Obviously, that's a little bit more than a changeup would be. So you want to keep it down. You just want to keep it down. That's it, man. You want to throw it down in the zone. You never want to get it to land much above that bottom line of the strike zone. That's where you really want to keep a splitter, because you want it to look like it's going to be a fastball and then just die at the last second and just drop to the bottom and drop to the dirt. You'll see as I'm throwing these right here, Darvish has a really good splitter. Who's another one that has a good one? Actually is Shohei Ohtani has a great splitter. But there's a lot of pitchers actually that have a really good splitter here in the game where it just drops and dies. And it's gotten to be a better pitch over the years in MLB The Show also. It didn't used to be a great pitch. It was kind of flat and it would float in sometimes. But now it's got a lot of late downward movement. A guy that has a lot of break on that pitch, and pay attention to that break attribute, just to know exactly who you're dealing with there. But if they've got a lot of break attribute on that specific pitch, it's probably going to have a lot of late downward breaks. So great pitch to keep in mind there. But keep that one down. You can move it around in the corners to righties and lefties. It really can be all around the same. But you can throw it if a pitcher doesn't happen to have a changeup in their repertoire. That's actually really important. If they don't have a changeup in the repertoire, you can use the splitter as their changeup to throw like outside changeups and try to get ground balls for double plays and things like that while you're using them. So keep that in mind with them. But that is the fastball pitches, man. We covered the four-seam, the two-seam, the sinker, the cutter, and the splitter. Tomorrow we're going to cover the changeup, the slider, the slurve, and the different types of curveballs, all right, off-speed pitches, and where to locate those. It's a little bit more quirky with those, so we're gonna cover all the spots and all the zones with those. But hope you guys enjoyed the video. Do me a favor as always and smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel, man. Subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks. Peace.